Once the call for heat is received at the ignition module, at Terminal 2 THS, these three components function together: the ignition module, the gas valve, and the burner assembly. With the flame sensor and the igniter. When the unit is on, but no call for heat is present, the transformer secondary low output is present at ground terminal 5. Also, one of the terminals should have a ground jumper, and the remaining terminal should feed common to the gas valve. The Sense 4 terminal wire runs to the flame sensor, and the spark wire is connected to the igniter. At the gas valve, the gas is stopped by the solenoid. Blind terminal 6 has no internal connection to the board, and it is not referenced by the module at any time. To begin, the call for heat arrives at terminal THS2, which starts the sequence of operation. Then the DS2 LED flashes once while the module performs a self-check. Next, the trowel for ignition triggers MV output to the gas valve and spark at the igniter. The valve opens, sending regulated gas to the burner, and the spark lights the gas. The flame spreads from the burner to burner and contacts the flame sensor, which sends microamps back to the module to prove or rectify the flame. Once the desired temperature is reached and the call for heat ends, the voltage is removed from THS2 and the voltage to the gas valve from MV is stopped. This stops the gas and the flame. Here we see the sequence of operations chart for this module. The highlighted stages represent its typical operation. It begins with 24 volts AC to THS2. Next, the LED flashes once during self-check. Then the first trowel for ignition begins sending 24 volts AC to the gas valve. Also, spark arrives at the igniter for a maximum period of 4 seconds. Typically, the flame ignites and the flame contacts the flame sensor, which proves the flame is present by sending at least 3 microamps to the module on Sense Terminal 4. This stops the spark and allows the MV output to continue until the call for heat ends or rectification is lost. When the module receives a call for heat and the LED flashes during self-check, the module is verifying no flame is present before it sends out an MV signal or spark. If it senses a flame, it will lock out and the LED will flash twice as shown. Notice the gas valve solenoid here is not fully closed when no voltage was present, which caused the error. The next error, and the most common type, occurs when during the trowel for ignition, the minimum rectification current of 0.3 microamps is not reached. Typically, the rectification current will be much higher in a functioning oven. If during the first trowel for ignition, the minimum microamp requirement is not reached, the module will move to interpurge for 30 seconds, and then begin another trowel for ignition. If the third trowel for ignition is unsuccessful, the module will lock out and the LED will flash 3 times, as we will see. Notice, in this illustration, the sense wire is shown with an interruption causing the problem. Other possibilities include a defective gas valve, a poor ground at Sense Terminal 5, a cracked sensor insulator, a grounded sense wire, or a failed ignition module. If you have trouble identifying the cause and you are not achieving at least 0.3 microamps back at Sense Terminal 4, call Blodgett Tech Service for assistance with troubleshooting the problem. The final error occurs when, during MV output in a singular call for heat, the module loses rectification 5 times. If the rectification drops below the required 0.3 microamps, the module will recycle by stopping MV output for 30 seconds and then triggering the first trial for ignition again. If that process of recycling repeats 5 times, the module will lock out and leave the LED on solid, as we will see. This can be caused by an intermittent ground or sense problem, a failed ignition module, or an intermittent drain on the 24-volt circuit's current. That would draw down the current. The gas valve needs to stay open. To test the ignition module, pull the MV wire and reset the call for heat. If the module still triggers a solid LED indicating recycle error, replace the module. But if it attempts 3 trials for ignition and ends with a triple flashing LED indicating a rectification error, check for an intermittent rectification problem or a drain on the 24-volt circuit's current. Here we see after the 5th attempt, rectification was not maintained and the recycle error occurred.